Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Wednesdays in Wiedemann. Before we start this program, I will remind you that we have two more events in this year's season. And one is next week, Rie Bloomfield Organ Series, distinguished guest artist with Marie Rubis-Bauer from Nebraska, Omaha, Nebraska, and her husband, Michael Bauer, who is a professor at University of Kansas. It will be a very special program because they will play two pieces, one by Gabriele and one by Antonio Soler, for two organs. Ah, you ask, how two organs? There's only one here. Well, they're bringing one. So you'll have to come and see what size it is, right? Okay. That's next Tuesday. And then our Organ Pops concert on Tuesday, April 27th, with faculty member, voice professor Deborah Baxter, who will grace us with her presence and her singing on stage, and some special tunes arranged for organ, percussion, sax, piano. Well, you'll have to come to that too to discover what that is. Today's program is devoted to Cesar Franck, a special, wonderful composer that I especially like. Cesar Franck was Belgian by birth. He was born in Liège and died in Paris. He was a virtuoso on both piano and the organ, giving recitals on both instruments. He was also a church organist in Paris, starting at Notre-Dame de Lorette, and then, of course, at the famous church Sainte Clotilde until his death. He was a brilliant, brilliant improviser, and even at his organ exam, his final exam at the Paris Conservatory, he got a second prize. But from accounts from the time and the jury, it seems that the jury might have been distracted because they didn't notice the tour de force that he did in superimposing the theme of the fugue that was given to all the candidates over the theme of the free improvisation. So that must have been so good, you know, when something appears so easy that it's really hard. Anyway, he has come down through history much better than a second prize. He performed at many notable instruments in Paris at organ inaugurations. There weren't so many organ recitals then, but a lot of instruments, important ones, were inaugurated during the 1800s, and Saint-Eustache, the Cavaille-Coll instruments at Sainte-Clotilde, Saint-Sulpice, Notre-Dame, La Trinité, and the Trocadero Palace, which no longer exists. And then, of course, at the end of his life, he was professor of organ at the Paris Conservatory. The pieces I play today give an excellent look at Franck as an organ composer. The Píèce Héroïque, the Cantabile, and the Choral No. 3 in A minor. The Píèce Héroïque and the Cantabile are from the Trois Pièces, or the three pieces, that were composed in 1863 for the inauguration of the Cavaille-Coll organ at the Trocadero, the Palace of the Trocadero in Paris, and that was in 1878. They are in order: Fantasy in A major, which I played last year at this same time, that's available on YouTube, Cantabile, and then Píèce Héroïque. I've just reversed the order today, Píèce Héroïque, Cantabile. The Píèce Héroïque is in B minor and was envisioned as an homage and to the soldiers and a special memory to the War of 1870. There are still marks of bombs in Paris today that you can see on walls. This Píèce Héroïque, or heroic piece of organ, is a triumphant look at this battle, at a battle, just a general battle, and a perfect program piece, because you can hear and see the guns pounding away, the soldiers marching close by and in the distance, experiencing all the epic tragedy of war and battle in the dotted rhythms, dum, da-dum, da-dum, and the chromaticism in the harmony, that sliding effect. And then, of course, there's an eloquent pause, the pause in battle where one hears the guns and marching in the background. The end of the piece is a long, sure and steady amplification with the troops marching to triumph, and finally in a solemn hymn, which appears and is played in a majestic B major. One can hear also, curiously, because Franck also composed for orchestra, one can hear cymbals at this end. You can hear an actual orchestra, other than the organ already, punctuate the entire ending. So here is Píèce Héroïque from the Trois Pièces by Cesar Franck. Cantabile is, as its title suggests, a delicate singing piece. One of the most brief of Franck's compositions for organ. And as usual, Franck gives us a long, very long singing melody with no less than 5 melodies and counter melodies. This piece has been found to have some discrete allusions to Tristan and Isolde by Wagner. This is, of course, a song without words, as much as Mendelssohn and his songs without words. And this allusion to Tristan and Isolde gives it a true aspect of a love duet, a love song, and it's much more that than intended for use in liturgy in a church. So, the love song, Cantabile by Cesar Franck. And now to the chorale numéro 3 en La mineur, number 3 in A minor, from the three chorales. First in E major, second in B minor, and this last in A minor. This is truly Franck's last musical will and testament. He finished composing the last two chorales in September of 1890 and died after an accident in November, not having been able to actually hear his works. Franck uses this term of chorale as a reference to the Lutheran chorale or Lutheran hymns. But his chorales are like the Cantabile with its melody, are without words. And they're, again, much like Mendelssohn's songs without words. Thus, these were not written for the church, but specifically, and this is what is new, specifically as organ pieces destined to be performed in a concert setting. And so both this writing, this type of writing, and the registration that Franck uses are specifically tied to the pipe organ and especially to the symphonic type of organ that his friend and organ builder Cavaille-Coll built during that time. The third chorale takes the form of a sonata, a work in three parts, all tied together, beginning with a quasi allegro, a beautiful adagio, and then a glorious finale that works up to the end with a majestic coda, referring to the very beginning, the arpeggiated chords of the beginning, the quasi allegro. So now the chorale numéro 3 en La mineur par Cesar Franck.